Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Breber and alongside me is Logan Camden. And today we are going to be sharing some of our biggest takeaways from Summer League so far. As we know, Summer League is always 100% reflective of how things go in the league, but it's that time of year. So we got nothing else to talk about. We might as well overreact. Of course, we've been going through the top 10 players in the NBA position by position. You can see the episodes we've done on that. You can see all the trivia stuff that we've done. But when it comes to current action, we've got Summer League. So, Logan, let's start with some dudes at the top of the draft who have stood out to you. Which lottery picks, and we'll go through a few guys here, but who is the first guy who's impressed you most out of that group?
Reed Sheppard's really impressed me, what we've seen from him in Summer League thus far. Through the games that we've seen, 20 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, 49% from the field, 39% from deep with 3 steals a game. It's really his poise, man, and his pace. Like, I said this in the pre-draft process, but I think Reed Sheppard has legitimate, like, point guard chops. I think this guy can legitimately handle, can make good decisions, can pass the hell out of the ball, and I don't want to get overzealous here, man, but damn, like, there are just glimpses where he looks like D-Book to me. It's weird, like just a little bit, like not wholly, but Reed's got a little bit in him. Defense, he looks really solid too. Really good at creeping up behind guys, making opportunistic steals. The thing that has impressed me the most, though, is the skill that we all knew was going to translate, man. The elite shooting. Like, the reason that I'm so confident in Reed being, you know, a good to great basketball player is just how deadly he is off of screens. I just think he's one of those guys where if you create an advantage for him, where you're running him, a set play or something, and just giving him, an angle or a little bit more space to work with, he's a weapon. Like, all he needs is that sliver of space to get a shot off. And like I said, with how good he is with the ball in his hands, coming off the screen, he can work downhill, he can get inside. I've been impressed, man. The guy looks kind of like a veteran, man. Like, he just looks ready. I think he's going to be impactful immediately. And the guy's just a special shooter. He's got a special skill set. And I think he's a legitimate point guard too, man. I've been super impressed with Sheppard thus far.
He has been playing very, very well, and it's been super fun to see. And I loved Reed as a prospect. He was my second favorite guy in this class. He was my number 2 prospect. And just to give some context on the numbers, he's giving you 25 and 5 on 49, 39, 78 splits so far through 3 Summer League games. Looks phenomenal, and you hit on it. It is the comfort as a primary ball handler that has been so impressive. The craftiness, the ability to shift gears to get past dudes and just get a little bit of separation to get to that floater game or to get to a pull-up jumper from mid-range. The three-point shooting is ridiculous. He was really a generational pure shooting prospect. Like, his efficiency on open jumpers, he averaged like 1.7 points per shot or something like that. That isn't just like layup efficiency, that's like dunk efficiency. He averaged 1.3 points per jumper off the dribble. So we knew that was an elite trait of his that would scale to this level. But I'm with you, the ball handling, the playmaking, he's made numerous really high IQ reads, and he's always been a very good ball mover. He's always been aware with hit-ahead passes, with making the simple reads just to find the open man, defensively making plays with his hands. Like, he just looks like such a good NBA player, and I was always very confident in his floor, but I am just even more confident in it after seeing these few games with him playing at this level. And the Rockets are just in a really, really fun spot now, man, because they have been picking in the top 5, obviously, for 4 years in a row now, but they have racked up some very, very legitimate talents. And then you also have Şengün later in the first round. You have Cam Whitmore later in the first round. It's going to be interesting seeing exactly what the fit looks like with Reed and with Jalen Green and with Amen Thompson, because Amen at this point is not nearly polished enough as an on-ball scorer to be entrusted with the sort of primary ball handling point guard responsibilities that you saw him have in Overtime Elite that was so intriguing about him at his size. But if he ever does get there, I think Reed as your secondary ball handler, as an elite off-ball player who can create for you in spots, that's pretty darn good. But if he needs to be your primary ball handler alongside a dynamic scoring guard like a Jalen Green, I think that works. And either way, it's like Reed is small, but he's a really good guard defender. Amen is going to be a destructive wing defender in this league. I get that there's a lot of mouths to feed, and that's part of the reason why there was a lot of talk about Houston trading this third pick, because they have drafted so high at the top of the draft over and over. But I actually think that this is a fit that you can make work, because these guys all have very distinct skill sets, and I don't think they step on each other's toes too much.
That's exactly what I was going to say, man, is I think they actually complement each other really well. And Sheppard's ability to handle, also ability to shoot, like I think it makes him, you know, he can play the one guard, he can play the two guard, and also with like Thompson shooting struggles, with Whitmore's inconsistent shot too, they need a guy like that. Also, long term too, man, I don't think, you know, I mean, he could potentially step into like Freddie's shoes, you know, when he's done.
Oh, yeah.
And we're also, like we always harp on here, man, we're in a positionless era of basketball, right? Like, if you got a man at the three, he can defend that spot. That's your real concern, right? Like, I think that you could have a lineup of Reed, Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, and it works. You're not losing anything anywhere, right? And, again, because of Reed's exceptional shooting ability, if Amen is the de facto ball handler, if Jalen Green is a de facto ball handler, you know, you're not losing anything with his skill set. He's an elite spot-up shooter, so he can space the floor. I think that, I don't know if it's going to be next year, man, but it's going to happen really soon, dude. Like Jabari Smith Jr., the Rockets just have a spoil of riches, man.
They have a lot of talent, and as you mentioned, shooting was something that they could definitely use, and Reed is going to bring that in droves. And there's some fun complementary stuff that you can get going with these guys. You think about what Amen could do screening for Reed, using his athleticism downhill as a roller, using his playmaking. Like, I think it works, and I really, really like both of those guys as talents. So, Houston, I think you got a very good one. I'll shout out the 11th pick of the draft, Matas Buzelis, who has just been insanely impressive in Summer League so far. He's averaged 20 points per game through 3 outings so far, and is just flashing a lot of good stuff out there. That was a huge part of the appeal with Buzelis, why I was surprised that he fell all the way to Chicago. I thought he was pretty clearly a top 7 prospect. He does a lot of different things on the basketball court at an above average level. He's really a Swiss Army knife, and he has awesome feel as well. So he's a good athlete in the open floor. You've seen that in transition. He's always excelled there. That has been the case in Summer League. He's always been a very smart cutter. You've seen that as well. He's been confidently shooting from deep, and that is the one skill that can turn Buzelis from, as I said, a top 7 prospect in my eyes to a guy who just like clearly should have gone top 5 if he is consistently and comfortably shooting from deep. Now, he's only at 28% from deep, but he's taken 6 a game, and we've seen a little bit of him doing it off movement, a little bit of him doing it off the bounce. Has to be more consistent there, but he's taking those shots. And then we've seen some self-creation, which has also been a bit of a question with him because of his lack of a consistent shot. Some of his issues finishing against contact, and his handle is very good for his size, but there are also times where it gets sloppy, but it's looked pretty damn good. Hesitations, crosses, getting himself a step, going downhill. He's attacked off the catch nicely, and then defensively, he's made a number of really nice plays, blocking dudes with rear view contests. He's shown really nice timing and hands as a helper, and offensively, you get some playmaking from him too, some nice deceptive passing, like just epitomizing the sort of versatility that made him so appetizing as a prospect. The efficiency isn't very good, but in Summer League, especially over a sample size like this, sometimes things get weird with that. I've really liked what I've seen from Buzelis, and I feel very confident that that was a really good value pick for Chicago.
Maybe the best value pick in the draft, man. I had Buzelis as a top 5 prospect in this class, up there with, you know, Reed, up there with Sarr, up there with Ron Holland, Cody Williams. Those are my guys. I'm glad that you mentioned the instincts, dude. That's the biggest appeal with Buzelis, is like his IQ and his positioning, knowing where he needs to be at the opportune time. And the defensive playmaking has been awesome, bro. Like, I did a video on Buzelis before the draft. That guy thinks he can block every shot and wants to. He is one hell of a defensive playmaker, but the biggest area of concern was the handle, was the self-creation. He's been working at it rigorously in the offseason. Like, I've seen a ton of clips of him shooting off movement, practicing those shots, getting more comfortable. And I think we've seen real development. Like, there's a little more patience there. He plays at a nice pace. He does have a bit of a smoother handle. And Again, he hasn't been super efficient, but I like the looks that he's getting to, man. Getting into that little floater range area off the dribble. And like you mentioned, he may not be shooting it super efficiently right now from behind the arc. I like that he's not hesitating. That Buzelis is, I'm open, I'm going to shoot it. And I think in a role, he's going to be more efficient. Like, this guy has just, like you said, dude, so many connective traits. I just think he's going to be a winning player from day one, dude. That guy's a stud. I think the Bulls got an absolute steal at number 11.
Agreed, and it's such a valuable archetype. The big forward at 6'10", who can provide you some secondary, tertiary ball handling, who runs the floor, who can defend multiple positions, who is a good low man, but who you also trust guarding in space. If he can shoot, it's like, those are the sort of dudes who help you win titles, man. Those versatile big forwards are just at such a premium in the NBA today. Okay, who else do you want to shout out, Logan?
I want to give another shout out to a value pick, Cody Williams to the Jazz. I thought he dropped as well. I've really liked what I've seen from Cody and the connecting traits that he has as well. A lot of the things that you say about Buzelis, he's in that similar archetype, right? I've loved him in transition, cutting, all the little things that Cody's always done, attacking closeouts. But I've liked what I've seen from him off the dribble a little bit too. We've seen some flashes of the mid-range game, a little bit of that change in pace, the shiftiness. There's something there. And like Buzelis, again, the efficiency isn't there from behind the arc, but he's shooting it confidently. Like, he's not waiting around. I think to get a guy like Cody at pick 10, that's what Cody went with? Yeah, I mean, it's just it's another huge steal, dude. I thought Cody was a top 5 guy in this class. And, again, it's not like star stuff, but you're seeing all the connective traits that just make him a winning player. And I think it's what he does, man. I've been probably a little bit more impressed by Buzelis just because I thought he was a little bit farther away, right? I was a little bit more confident in Cody's offensive game, in his connective traits. But I've liked what I've seen from him too, dude.
Yeah, I really like Cody, and he was a top 7 prospect in this draft for me as well. I had him and Buzelis neck and neck. He's just another guy who, as you mentioned, brings a lot of those plus traits on the wings. And we've seen some of the ball handling. We've seen some of the touch finishing, some of the pull-up shooting. But we've also seen, as you mentioned, the cutting, running the floor in transition, his length defensively. He had a ridiculous blocked corner 3 where you just see all the range that he can cover. You've seen the change in pace, the shiftiness, which was an appealing trait of his at Colorado, something that obviously his brother Jalen excels at. So I really like Cody. I've always liked Cody, and I do think that he's been impressive, and he's been very efficient in his couple summer league games. I'm going to give a shout out to a guy who we haven't seen technically compete in Vegas Summer League, but we saw him play one Summer League exhibition up in Utah, and that is Zach Edey, who was, of course, one of the most controversial prospects in this year's draft because he's a historically great, historically dominant college performer, but in an archetype that you don't always see in the league. The dominant back to the basket at the college level, lumbering big, 7'4". A lot of people just kind of inherently resent people who have those sort of overwhelming physical advantages, I think. But there was a lot that Edey did that pretty clearly would translate to the league. First of all, that size doesn't go away just because you don't like it. And 7'4", 300 pounds is huge in the NBA as well. And when you have the sort of touch that Zach Edey does, when you have the sort of pretty good body control that he does, when you have pretty good passing feel like he does, that means that you are going to be a big problem for a lot of teams guarding in the post. He's always been an effective pick and roll finisher. He is, in terms of just pure rim deterrence and rim protection, very effective. And he's a monstrous rebounder. And you saw all of that in that game against Utah, which was even more impressive because he's going up against Walker Kessler, who is like one of the most legitimate NBA bigs who you could see in a summer league setting, and specifically is a great interior defender. And when it came to that post-up game one-on-one, he was bullying Walker Kessler and just going over top of him with those hook shots, with those touch shots. 15 rebounds he had, including a putback off an offensive rebound to tie the game with 0.8 seconds left off of an intentionally missed free throw. He's setting bone-crushing screens, and I think that's another underrated aspect of his game. That size, that physicality in terms of freeing up ball handlers. Ja is certainly going to be appreciative of that. It's the Steven Adams effect that we've seen that Memphis could be missing. And of course, they were going to miss Adams' interior defense and rebounding, allowing Triple J to play at the 4 instead of the 5, where he is much better suited. He's able to roam. His rebounding limitations don't hurt you as much. Like, that's why, even though I didn't necessarily have Edey as a top 10 pick in a vacuum, I really liked Memphis taking him at 9 because they are such a win now team. He is such a pro ready pick at such a position of need. And I just think that you saw immediately, like, this guy's going to find success at the NBA level. He is going to be super productive in his minutes. He had 4 blocks in this game. And one thing that wasn't necessarily the flashiest, but I did think was notable from this game. You think about Edey, you think about plodding, big, slow-footed center. You think about him maybe struggling to guard in space defensively, which I do think will be a thing. But you think about him maybe struggling to just get up and down the floor. He beat everybody down the floor twice in that Jazz game for wide open dunks. Now, is Walker Kessler moving at the speed of Roadrunner? No. But nevertheless, you think about Memphis, they want to play with tempo, they want to play with pace. Edey wasn't the most intuitive fit in that way. And I saw somebody spouting that like he had 0 transition points in college, which isn't true. He had 24, but that's not a lot. But already he has 4 in his first summer league game. That's never going to be a strength of his. But I thought the fact that he was moving with that sort of intention down the court in transition a couple times was at least worth noting.
Yeah, and I think a lot of his flaws kind of got overplayed in the pre-draft process, and he's a really polarizing guy. I never really understood the hate, though. I mean, his floor is so high. This guy is going to help you win basketball games immediately. And, yeah, I mean, you can hate on the physical advantages. That's one thing, right? It's like sometimes in football, right, you'll see a wide receiver maybe who just is so athletically overwhelming that he just dominates college competition, and you go, okay, well, at the NFL level, that's not going to work, right? You just can't bully guys who are just smaller than him. With a guy like Edey, it's like he still has those athletic advantages over everybody in the NBA. It's like, I don't know, the people that were treating him like he would be a human victory cigar, like he'd be like Boban or something like that, I just think is so disrespectful to how good of a basketball player Zach Edey is. He's going to be a great rebounder. He's got legitimate post-game and post-touch at that size. The guy's going to be a weapon, man. Like, do I think he has the highest ceiling? No, but I think he's a sure thing. You know exactly what you were getting with Zach Edey. And I'm glad you shouted him out, man. He was one of the guys I wrote down on here. And considering how great he was, I hope they don't play him the rest of the way, man. That guy's good to go. You don't need to see any more games or question what you're going to get out of him, man. That guy is going to help you win games immediately. And specifically with the fit with Jaren Jackson Jr., that's one hell of a combination on the inside, dude. I think Memphis could have, I don't know, I won't say the best interior defense because there are still some really great teams, Orlando, Minnesota. Cleveland. Memphis will be up there, though.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Edey fit is phenomenal, and I've just gotten higher and higher on him throughout the draft process, and I think that you're right. People hyper-focused on his limitations, the fact that he doesn't look like the modern NBA center in a lot of ways, and overlook the things that he does that are so great, that translate no matter what. And if you can just protect the rim and you can provide super efficient touch finishing and you can post up and you can bully people there with legitimate efficiency and you can pass out of doubles, you can draw fouls, that's valuable, man. And Edey provides that value. I want to give one last quick shout out to Stephon Castle, who we've only seen in one game, but I just thought that he was another guy who looked very comfortable with the ball in his hands. And I've had some questions about how he projects as a sort of lead ball handler because of his shooting inconsistency, but the playmaking was really impressive. He's hitting pocket passes, he's hitting skip passes really nicely. And in this one game, he had some nice touch going with his floaters and his jumpers. So I still think that he has to certainly prove that he can be consistent in that respect as a jump shooter. But I do think that he played a really nice game. And I think you absolutely see that the athleticism, the playmaking, as we knew, is already very much at the NBA level.
Yeah, I've liked I was worried about that too. I've liked Castle's poise too, man. Like, he doesn't seem super rushed out there.
Yeah.
He was working to get to his spots. I think Castle was one of my top 10 guys in the draft.
Easily.
I think I trust him a little more. Like you said, I want to see some more tape from him, but I was encouraged by that first game, man. That was like his biggest concern coming in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I got faith, man. I think, and especially, dude, walking into a situation where you have Victor Wembanyama, man, his life is going to be made so much easier immediately the second he gets on the court, man. Like, he's going to get so much attention. Yeah, I think Castle's going to be damn good from the jump, too.
Yeah, I still think you want to pair him with like a really consistent offensive guard, and then he brings all his defense and athleticism and secondary ball handling and playmaking. And if he figures out the shot, like just a great prospect. So he was one of my top 5 guys in this class, and of course, he went 4th overall. Is there anybody else you want to shout out in this lottery range?
I'll give a brief shout out. He's not had the most efficient summer league, but I've liked some of what I've seen from him. Ron Holland is shooting a whopping 34% from the field and 17% from deep. We got to work on that, my friend. But the athleticism has popped. You've seen a lot of him working, cutting, in transition, finishing around the rim, rebounding. It's all about the touch, man, with Ron. Like, he's such an athletic freak. He can impact the game in so many other ways. It's all about him in that shot, man. If he can figure that out, I think Ron's going to be good. But I've liked what I've seen from him thus far. It's always been known, though. I think the stat was like 17% outside of the restricted area, something ridiculous, man. If he can figure out the shot, he's going to be really good. But I've liked everything else Ron has shown.
Yeah, he's very clearly one of the 2 or 3 best athletes in this class. That was never in doubt. And I liked Holland because of that. I do think that him going 5 was a reach. I do think that there were wings who I certainly preferred. Buzelis, Cody Williams, as we've mentioned, as safer sort of do-it-all versatile guys. And specifically in Detroit, neither Buzelis or Cody Williams is the most proven shooter at all, but they are more proven shooters than Ron Holland. And that's just been my concern, pairing him with the Sarr Thompson as your wings, given the offensive hellscape that Detroit has already been. Like, I am still worried about that, and Ron hasn't really done anything to dispel that yet. But no question, he's a special athlete, and he has the feel as a cutter. He has the defensive tools. That sort of stuff does pop off the screen. Still one of my least favorite picks, really, of the first round overall, though. But, Logan, a pick that I really liked was Alex Sarr of the Wizards at number 2 overall. I felt that he was the best prospect in this class, and he just gave us a nice 0 for 15 burger. Are you concerned about Sarr's struggles in Summer League so far?
Concern's an interesting way of putting it, because it's like, that would mean that I had some sort of confidence in Alex Sarr's offensive game already. Like, his offensive game is really raw, and we've known that. As you mentioned, 0 of 15 in this game, 0 of 7 from behind the arc. I'll cut him a little bit of slack. It's tough going up against Donovan Clingan, but, I mean, damn, dude, you're going to be getting that on a nightly basis with the NBA caliber guys that we got. Mm-hmm. I do worry about him generating and manufacturing just really easy looks for himself. Sarr doesn't play with a ton of physicality right now. Doesn't really have a back to the basket or post game. Doesn't have many counters on the low block. And that's just the fundamental concern, right? I think he's more of a finesse big than a physical big. And that can be frustrating when your finesse big is just missing shots like that. The handle looks smooth. He looks fluid. I like the way he moves up and down the court, but I don't know. Sarr may be a guy that you just need to pair a really good ball handler who can set him up for easy looks, man. Because
like Trae Young?
Trae Young. Oh, yeah. You know, it'd be like a perfect fit, wouldn't it?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
You know, I think if Atlanta could make that happen, man, maybe they should have.
Well, listen, I don't know if now is the time to say that. But, yeah, I do still think that Sarr is the best prospect in this class, and that doesn't change from one really awful Summer League game. Like, we do have to keep in perspective, as fun as it is to overreact to all of this stuff, it is Summer League. But I do think that flaws are being put on display in his game right now. I mean, he's giving you 6.7 points per game on 19% from the field and 11% from 3. And I'm with you 100%. Sarr's selling point as a prospect has never been his offense. In fact, we've known that as a rookie offensively, it would be rough. And my hope for Sarr long-term was that he would become an above-average offensive player. It's never been, oh, he's going to be a star on that side of the ball. It's going to be, if he has a path to stardom, it's on the back of being awesome defensively and being pretty good offensively. And he has been really good defensively. I want to give him props for living up to our expectations on that end. The rim protection is fantastic. His ability to recover to the roller has been super impressive out of drop coverage, playing both the ball handler and the roller at once. He's picking up some really nice recovery blocks where he gets beat off the bounce, but just uses that length and athleticism to erase the advantage. And offensively, we have seen some flashes of nice connective passing. He's averaging 3 assists per game. You mentioned some of the ball handling, the fluidity, stuff that you've seen upside with in Sarr's game. Not necessarily stamped as like clear positive traits, but we've seen flashes of that stuff, and that's been the case in Summer League as well. But the scoring has just been brutal. And the single biggest thing to me is the lack of physicality. Like, Donovan Clingan is a massive deterrent, right? He's a massive man. He's an elite shot blocker. He's strong as hell. But like, Sarr has gone up very soft against him a few times, and he's forcing some runners. He's just kind of flailing and losing control of the ball. That stuff is unacceptable. And I'm fine with him taking open threes. That's been part of the intrigue in his game. It's like he has shown the potential to become a capable floor spacing big, but he's just like living on the 3-point line right now. He's constantly popping. Sometimes he's forcing up these threes. He took one where he was like fading away with the contest coming. And I'm like, Alex, please do not take that shot. So he's got to add strength. He's got to get more physical. He's got to get better as a jump shooter. And to me, he's got to shoot less jumpers than he is right now. We've always known that it's going to be a process for him offensively. He was a raw prospect, but he definitely has to be better than this. And it's going to be a journey. He has tools. He is a good athlete, but in terms of the non-dunk finishing, he's got to get better. And in terms of just being assertive as a downhill rolling big, I think that we have to see more from him. Shout out Bub Carrington, though, because the Wizards at least have him giving you 19, 6, and 6. And he's fun. He's the exact sort of Summer League sweetheart who you always see. That's not to diminish his game, because I think that Bub is nice. But Bub was clearly one of, like, the few nicest guys in this class, right? By nice, I mean that boy nice. Like, Rob Dillingham and then Bub Carrington. Those are, like, the two dudes where it's like, whoa, they have the wiggle, they have the handle, they have the shiftiness, they have the shot making off the bounce. That's never been in question if you've paid attention to Bub Carrington as a prospect. But you see these guys in Summer League, and for a lot of people, it is their first time really seeing him, and they're just like, holy shit, that dude can get a bucket. But sometimes that guy's Bones Highland. You know, Bones Highland has had a crazy Summer League. Like, there's never been a question about that aspect of Bub's game. It's about the all-around impact, the efficiency, whatever. I'm not going to be anti-Bub Carrington. I'm just seeing a lot of people get really, really hyped on him. And he is the sort of dude who tends to look really fun, really exciting in Summer League.
His handle and playmaking has been pretty nice, too. I've liked his decision-making.
Yeah, his playmaking's been pretty good.
I've enjoyed his passing. You hit the biggest nail on the head. It's the complete lack of, like, wanting to play with that physicality. Dude, you're 7-1, my friend. We got to stop going up with floaters, dude. You got to go up strong to the block, man. Put it on the box, on the backboard, man. The one thing I will say, too, is, Sarr is super young, right? Like, in comparison to a lot of these polished guys that you saw go maybe outside of the lottery or even an Edey, like, Sarr's got a long way to go, but he's also 19 years old. You know, the guy's super young. But it's the biggest concern, I think, by far, man. It's getting those easy buckets because there's no real – he has no bread and butter looks as a NBA player. Like, zero. There's going to be zero easy buckets for Alex Sarr. And even, like, as a roll man and, like, at-rim finishing, I'm concerned about that because, like – he doesn't want to go up super strong. Like, his tendency is to go up with finesse. I just think he needs a fundamental change there. But there's time, man. And luckily for the Wizards, guess what? There's no winning timeline right now, man. It's just all about getting better for next game. So, Sarr is definitely an offensive project. But I'm not going to make any big-time declarations right now after one game.
I concur. But you're right. Like, there's no post game there, but we knew that as a prospect. He's just going to have to improve as a play finisher, and I do think he will do that, and his defense will always be the main selling point. Know the beautiful thing about being a sports fan? There's only like 2 days the whole year without a game. 2. With so much happening and so much action, that makes just about every day game day at DraftKings Sportsbook.
It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. It really couldn't be any easier or any simpler. Baseball, golf, UFC, there's something for every fan of every sport to bet on at DraftKings. And I know it's early, but football season will be here before you know it.
And if you're new to DraftKings, you gotta check this out. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code NERDS. That's code NERDS for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, let's flip it from a very high draft pick who has been underwhelming, disappointing, you could even say, in summer league so far. Which non-lottery guys are making teams regret passing up on them right now, Logan?
Number one for me is Kel'el Ware, and I did kind of a 180 on Ware throughout the draft process when I got around to watching his tape. Because I would watch Indiana games, and I'd see them sometimes, and Ware would just be clanging free throws, and that would frustrate me to no end. He's still doing that. He's shooting 40% from the line in Summer League, but man, that dude, it just has it. He has got it defensively, and he's got a nice framework for an offensive game. The guy is disruptive defensively. I love how much space he just takes up. Like, he is a menacing roamer, defending out of drop. Like, the guy's just comically long. Great defending the pick and roll. Great trailing blocks. Like, I think that guy probably can play alongside Bam in certain looks if they want to. If they want to move Bam to the 4, let him play the 5. I think that's one hell of a defensive lineup. But I knew what Kel'el was going to give you defensively. Offensively is where he's really impressed me. As a roll man, in like just an at-rim finisher, he plays with physicality. Ware does not go up soft. That guy goes up really strong. I like him as a lob threat out of the roll. And I've liked what we've seen floor spacing-wise, too. He doesn't take a lot of threes. In college, I think he was at like 2 a night. But he shot it at, over 40%. He's at 50% in the Summer League thus far, and the shot looks smooth. And you're not really expecting it. Guys mostly just play off of him and kind of let him take that shot. It's a good look for him, and I like his touch overall. We've seen some flashes of the post game, too. Mm-hmm. I just think Ware is going to have an impact winning immediately, man. Like, he's good enough offensively, and he does enough little things, and then defensively, the guy's a monster. He is one hell of a disruptor. I thought he should have gone in the lottery. I actually liked this change because I thought Buzelis was a lock to go top 10. I thought he worked in Chicago. I thought he worked in Memphis as a spot. I think both of those teams crushed their draft by getting Buzelis and Edey, so I'm not going to hate on them for passing on him. But the Heat hit a home run with Kel'el Ware, man. I think that guy is just going to impact winning immediately.
And it's a very intuitive position for them to be drafting for, just when you consider the lack of size in the front court that they've had alongside Bam, the lack of any sort of backup 5, right? You're talking about Kevin Love taking those minutes. Ware made a lot of sense from that perspective. And probably the biggest thing that stood out is just how massive he is. And he is just playing bully ball versus a lot of these dudes, particularly smaller guys. Like, he is hunting switches and he is just racking up and ones. He's playing very decisively out of the post, finishing through contact, and his touches looked pretty good. And then he pairs that with real vertical spacing as a lob threat. He pairs that with floor spacing, as you mentioned, not necessarily at high volume, but that's always been an intriguing part of his skill set. He's an awesome rim protector. I think that this was a really, really good pick for Miami, both considering the talent, but especially considering their need. And I think it'll be fun to see some looks with him and Bam out there on the floor together, because I think they both have enough offensive skill where you don't feel like you're inhibited by having them on the floor at the same time. And then you just go from being the eternally small Miami Heat to being huge. Your interior defense would just be destructive there. What that could allow Bam to do potentially as a bit of a roamer instead of having to always hold things down as the 5. Obviously, Bam is also crazy switchable. There's a lot of intrigue there, and I'm excited to see Kel'el Ware out there doing the real thing. This one's a no-brainer. I mean, it was very, very obvious that this dude was one of the steals of the draft, but Dalton Knecht just looks fantastic already. He's scoring 22 a game on 41% from deep through 2 games and has shown a little bit of his passing feel as well, but he's just such a complete scoring prospect. Probably already the most complete scorer in this class. Very polished. but that shooting is absolutely absurd. Off movement, lethal, which is such a valuable skill set to have alongside LeBron, alongside the ball handling and the rim pressure that you get with LeBron, that you get with AD, the shot creation of an Austin Reeves. I think he's immediately going to thrive as one of the most pro-ready players, and again, maybe the most pro-ready offensive player in this class. Attacking off the catch, he's looked good. Dude was always a home run, but he has delivered in Summer League so far.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, it's the veteran poise, dude. And considering the situation that he's going into, Knecht's a guy where I think you could plug him in almost anywhere and he'd eat because he doesn't need the ball in his hands, right? He's great cutting. He's great relocating, off screens. But specifically in LA, too, he's a phenomenal fit there. I wrote him down. The last guy I wrote down for this one, I don't know how he slipped this far. I don't know if it was the off-the-court stuff. I have been super impressed by Terrence Shannon Jr., man. When I watched him at Illinois, and, like, this guy played there for a while, I just thought this is one of the most athletic and explosive guys in the draft. And, like, damn, man, closeout attacking, that dude has got some pop. I think he's going to be a good defender immediately.
Oh, yeah.
He's a menace in transition. And, yeah, dude, he's just explosive. Like, I think him and Ron Holland I would have up there as maybe, like, the two best vertical and explosive athletes in this draft, man. The shot's a little bit of a concern. I like that he doesn't hesitate. But I think in Minnesota, man, that's terrifying. Thinking about Anthony Edwards, McDaniels, Shannon on the wings. They're going to be really long. They're going to be really athletic. They're going to be really explosive. And I think if he can just step in and defend really at a high level in Minnesota, man, that's a problem. Minnesota crushed their draft. I hope Dillingham can figure it out. I hope he's a little more efficient. But I think Terrence Shannon Jr. is a stud, dude. I could not believe that he fell that far in the draft. I had him as like a fringe lottery guy. The fact that he went at the end of the first was baffling to me.
Well, he's obviously very old, which is a factor in that. Like, I'm pretty sure he's almost 24, right? But when you're Minnesota, you don't care as much about that timeline. And when you're trying to acquire athletic 3-and-D wings, he's a good one. And to me, really, the question is just about the consistency of his three-point shot, because it was kind of up and down throughout his college career. But I liked Shannon. I thought that he was a good pick at an intuitive spot for them. We just know that they need guys who can play on both sides of the ball, right? Because Nickeil Alexander-Walker is out of this world defensively, but at times he was pretty frustrating, pretty rough offensively. That's not to say that Terrence Shannon Jr. should or will be better than Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but he's another option you have out there. And yeah, I mean, the athleticism, you mentioned the defense. I think that is a really safe aspect of his game. I absolutely think he's going to be a plus defender. There's a couple spots where he's just erasing dudes with rear view contests, with recovery blocks, and his motor. I mean, he's playing with some ferocity out there. So I've been impressed by him as well. Last dude, just real quick, no surprise here, but Tristan da Silva, my boy, my darling of this draft, has been super productive. Shocker. He's an absolute baller for Orlando. He's giving you 18 a night on 58% from the field, 55% from deep. The feel, the versatility, both sides of the ball. The dude is a stud. And even though Orlando is crowded in the front court and they have these sort of versatile big wings already, I still love that they got him, just because he is such a good win-now basketball player to be getting in the late teens at all. All right. So we've talked all about rookies up to this point because they are generally the stars of Summer League, but we do have some older dudes out there. So with that in mind, Logan, which second-year player has impressed you the most?
I've really liked what I've seen from Jarris Walker. Walker was one of my favorite guys in the draft last year. It's just how great he could be as a two-way player. You know, I thought he would be immediately dominant defensively. And there was a nice framework for what he could be offensively. He didn't get a ton of burn last year in Indiana. That's why I was really excited to see him now. And I think he's really grown offensively. He's just intelligently attacking mismatches after forcing switches, just simple stuff, setting a screen, rolling to the paint, getting a small guy on him. You're too little, big body. But Really I was nervous about Jarris, consistently creating easy offense for himself. And I've been super impressed. The mid-range game, he's shown some stuff, out of the post with some turnarounds. He's shown us some flashes of his handle and his playmaking. In Summer League, he's been giving us 26-4 on 49, 47, 80 splits with a block and a steal a game. That was the idea, man. This guy can impact basically every facet of the game. Defensively, he can score at all three levels. He's a little bit of an undersized four, right? He's a big body kind of four, about 6'7", 240, 250. But he's one hell of an athlete, man. And, I think his offensive game has really improved. If he's going to be this reliable spacing the floor, if he's going to have this kind of capability, handling, knocking down shots out of the mid-range, I think you got to play the guy. I think he's got to crack the rotation, which is a little bit why I'm a little disappointed that Indiana paid Obi Toppin a little bit, because I was like, man, screw Obi Toppin. Jarris Walker's just going to step in here and be way better. So I don't know. There's a bit of a logjam there in Indiana with so many talented players, and I hope Jarris cracks the rotation, because I think definitively this guy's good enough to play real NBA minutes right now. Like, I would give the guy 20 to 25 a night and be okay with it. I think Jarris is ready for rotation minutes.
I certainly hope that he cracks the rotation as well, and the Obi and, of course, Siakam holding down the starting four spot does make it a little bit difficult for him to carve out some opportunities there. But I really liked Walker as a prospect, and I was a bit bummed that we only got to see so little of him in the big leagues this past season, but I didn't necessarily dislike what we saw from him, and I've really liked what we've seen in Summer League. You mentioned smart cutting, sealing off defenders when he has a mismatch for these easy finishes. The shooting has been really impressive. The volume from deep has been impressive. And some of the pull-up stuff, it's like, that was one of my frustrations with Jarris Walker at Houston. Like, you are such a tank of a man, and he's settling for these tough jumpers a lot. Like, they've been falling in Summer League. I still wish that his shot diet was a bit less dependent on some of those tough jumpers, but they have been falling, and he's just a very complete player, dude. Like, you see live dribble playmaking from him as the ball handler. You see passing off the short roll. Him and Oscar Tshiebwe have ridiculous chemistry, the two of them, like the best chemistry that I've seen in Summer League. He is a really versatile defender. He makes big time plays on that end. I like the guy a lot. I have liked what we've seen, and it's sort of a different role because he's handling more. He's doing more of like that lead stuff offensively, but I think fitting in Indiana, I mean, playing with that sort of ball handling, if it's Hallie, if it's TJ, that sort of pace, bringing some actual defense, which Lord knows they need. I do think he should be able to carve out a role for himself, but I don't like him so much at the three if he's playing alongside Siakam or Obi until he really proves himself as a shooter. To me, I do definitely think that he is ideally a four. I'm going to give a shout out to Julian Strawther, who has been one of the most productive players in Summer League. He's averaging 28.5 points per game on 41% from deep, taking 11 threes per game. It's only been 2 games, of course, but that's the thing that pops with him. I mean, just excellent shooting, and that's what made him so appealing as a prospect. Absurd shooting off the catch. Some nice shot creation from deep off the bounce as well. And he's just got good feel. He's cutting smartly. He makes some good basic reads as a passer. This, to me, has been encouraging about his ability to play meaningful minutes for the Nuggets this year. I've always liked Strawther. I liked him as a pick. I thought that he was impressive in Summer League last year, and then he wasn't a guy who cracked the playoff rotation this past year, and he has to step up, as does Christian Brown, as does Peyton Watson. But out of those three, I mean, he's already pretty clearly the best offensive player, and I think that he is an intuitive fit in Denver. So he's a guy who I trust to step up and play 15, 18 minutes a night for them this year. Unfortunately for Denver, unrelated to this, but just kind of big news out of Summer League, Deron Holmes tearing his ACL really, really sucks because, of course, they traded up to 22 to get him. They needed a guy who could play actual backup center minutes, and I liked Holmes as a prospect. That's a big loss for Denver.
That's a massive loss for Denver. I don't know what they're going to do. Like, those guys just don't grow on trees, you know. It's hard finding a guy who's going to give you good minutes there.
Call Mason Plumlee.
Nah, dude, he's holding it down for the Suns, man.
Yeah, true.
Probably going to start for him. I'd start him over Nurk.
This guy. Get a load of this guy. My God. Respect the Bosnian beast.
I guess. The analytics like him a little bit in terms of rim protection, but, man, that guy just – he moves like molasses, man.
Nah, you don't need to respect the Bosnian beast. You remember that one time I was at the zoo and I saw a tortoise and I said, just found Yusuf Nurkic guarding in space. So I'm with you.
Strother's –
he's better than Mason Plumlee.
Is he? I don't know.
Yes, man. He is. He is. The rebounding,
dude,
the playmaking,
it's like when I made the it's like when I made the Steve Novak take the other day.
Jesus.
Yeah, man. Do you think if you gave Mason Plumlee real minutes, he'd be like one of the best playmaking bigs in basketball?
Bro, you're just all hopped up on the Plumdog Millionaire highlight tape where sometimes he just decides to pass the ball in all these flashy ways and he's pushing. You're getting point Plumlee in transition. That's fun. It's some of the most thrilling basketball on the planet.
He's breaking out the behind the back into the dunk, man.
He's tough as hell. I'm not even going to lie. Plumdog Millionaire is that dude.
I like Strother a lot, man. The stat about him that was crazy in the draft last year, he's an 100th percentile spot-up player, which is ridiculous. And when you think about the situation that he's stepping in to play, what better player could you go play with than Nikola Jokic, who manufactures really easy opportunities in this spread-out offense in Denver? It's also a big need for Denver. Like, Denver needs him to be good next year. They need some pop off the bench. If it's scoring, if it's handling, they just need guys who can do something well off the bench, right? In Brown and Peyton Watson, you've got two guys who are really similar to each other in terms that they're, athletic, defensive-minded wings without a ton of polish offensively. Strother's going to bring you that shooting. And, man, they need him to be productive. And I hope he cracks the rotation this year, man. With his performance in Summer League, he definitely should.
Yeah, I think that he'll be playing legit minutes this year. Shout out Trey Alexander. He's looked good in Summer League for the Nuggets as well. But nobody wants to hear about Trey Alexander, Logan. The people want to hear about Bronny frickin' James. So we've saved the best for last, the 55th pick in the draft. What have you made of Bronny's performance so far in Summer League?
I just think he's so far away offensively. And needs to become a reliable floor spacer if he sticks around the league. I know people have said this, but it's the truth. The archetype that Bronny's in, you just don't see across the league. An athletic, smaller, defensive-minded guard who can't really score, well, that just means you're not playing in the NBA, man. Like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and this is not to be super critical of Bronny. Like, I think Bronny has NBA traits. As other people have said, like, he is a great athlete. He's a really good defender. I think he's got good instincts there. I like him in transition. But he doesn't have a great handle. He does not have really any reliable avenues to easy offense, right? His role as an offensive player is going to be catch and shooting. People creating an opportunity for him and him either knocking down the three or attacking a closeout. He still hasn't hit a three in Summer League. And yeah, I just think he's far away. And I said this at the time, but I thought the best route for Bronny being a impactful NBA player was to go back to college and to go to a smaller program where he could be the lead guy, where he would be forced to grow his offensive game, forced to get his handle better, forced to get his shot better, forced to make him a better offensive player, right? Even in college. And I know he was dealing with the heart issue, so I'll cut him some slack there. Even in college, he was an off-ball guy, right? You just don't see this archetype a ton in the NBA. And so my guess right now, again, I hate to be a pessimist here. I hate to be negative. My guess would be, and we don't know, maybe he'll develop. Maybe he'll get better. I hope he does for his sake. Probably 4 years and out of the league. And I just think that's sad. I think he needs to refine his game. He needs to grow. And I feel bad for the kid. Traditionally, 55th picks are allowed to just go out there and play and nobody cares. But because he's LeBron's kid, all these cameras, all this attention is on him, and it just mounts the pressure. He's got a ton of weight on his shoulders, and I just feel bad that he can't just go out there and hoop. I think Bronny's a far ways away.
He's absolutely a long ways away, and there's zero surprise in that if you have been paying attention to Bronny James as a prospect. He's averaging 5 points per game in Summer League. He has 1 assist to 5 turnovers, is shooting 21% from the field, and is 0 of 11 from deep, and the shooting is just brutal. We're talking like multiple air balls that we've already seen, and that's not necessarily surprising. Like, combining his Sierra Canyon stats and his USC stats, he's 30% from deep, 40% on two-point jumpers, 21% on runners, under 68% from the line. So yeah, it's been particularly bad in these two summer league games, but there's a track record of him really struggling to shoot the ball, being indisputably a well below average shooter of the basketball. And you're seeing some stuff where he just feels like overwhelmed by the stage, right? He's shuffling his feet and traveling when he sees a closeout. And as you mentioned, he is currently in an archetype that does not exist in the NBA. The 6'1 non-shooter, poor ball handler, non-creator, or play finisher. He's not going to be able to make a living off of being a good defender, but still a small guard defensively. He's long. He's got a 6'7 wingspan with those sort of glaring offensive limitations. And I've always felt that, first of all, he'd have to spend multiple years in the G League. Like you, I thought that he should have gone back to college. When he first put his name into the draft for this year, I was very confident that he was going to pull out. I did not think that he was going to stay in this draft because of how rough his first year of college was, because of how much growing he still had to do. And I do think it's going to take multiple years in the G League before he's close to like a rotation-ready NBA player, if he ever gets there. And if I were a betting man, I would probably bet against that ever happening. And that's not to say that this is just like flagrant nepotism is the only reason that Bronny is on the summer league floor, because I was okay with LA taking him at 55. Do I think he was the 55th best prospect in this draft? No, I think he was probably a top 75 prospect in this draft. But at that point, when you're LeBron James and he's your son and it's the 55th pick where the hit rate is exceptionally low, I think you've earned the right to take your son. And it's a really cool moment. So I was fine with it from that perspective, but they certainly should not force him onto the floor. And you mentioned that the attention is so constant. That's where I feel so bad for Bronny. I really do feel like he's been set up for failure, and I don't blame LeBron for that, really. Now, there are some moments that you wish he could have back. I don't think he should have said, I'm watching League Pass and Bronny's way better than some of these dudes, LMAO, because that is obviously going to put even more of a target on his back. And there are some who will say, oh, he shouldn't have used his leverage to draft Bronny with the 55th pick. I don't agree with that. I understand that it's like, okay, now there's a spotlight on him. There was always going to be a spotlight on him. He's LeBron James Jr. His name put that spotlight on him. LeBron didn't have any say in that. And I don't know if LeBron was a factor in him leaving college after a year. Like, I don't want to presume any of that stuff. That's why I don't really put it on LeBron, even though everybody wants to make it about LeBron, of course, because he's LeBron. But it's the carried away collective response of people who see the name LeBron James Jr. that just sets him up to fail in my eyes, because like there should never be this amount of attention on a 55th overall pick, right? Patty Mills was the 55th overall pick. It's like an amazing success story that he carved out a legit NBA career for himself. But people, particularly those who are real LeBron fans or who just aren't the most dialed into the NBA overall, just like so casually throw out these comparisons of like, he can be Drew Holiday. He can be even Avery Bradley, just because like he's a small guard who hangs his hat on his defense. Like, do you understand what you're saying there? I mean, Drew Holiday is going to be like a fringe Hall of Famer, dude. Drew Holiday, if you took with the 5th overall pick, you'd be thrilled. He's one of the best defensive guards ever, and he's been a legitimate star offensively in his career. Avery Bradley, we take that a step down. I think went 19th overall. You take Avery Bradley 19th overall, you're very happy. Like, don't undersell being a really high-end defensive guard and making 37% of your threes in this career. Pat Bev, small guard, right? Who people can point to. He's 3-time all-defense and a 37% career three-point shooter. Like, you have to be bringing value offensively, and you have to be really, really good defensively to succeed in that archetype. And to just say, oh, Bronny can be that because dudes of his size who are defense first exist in the league and have succeeded is insane to me. I saw like the top comment on some Ronnie 2K post it was about Bronny. And the top comment was like, if he's over an 80, I swear I'm not getting this game. An 80, bro. An 80? An 80 is a good NBA starter. This brother is like a 50-something, right? I mean, he is multiple years away from being an NBA player, and that's okay when you're the 55th pick. But nobody can treat it that way because there's just too much attached to his name. There are so many people who want to see him fail desperately, and there are so many people who want him to be much better than he's capable of. And that's the problem here. It's that there are very few people who are just able to objectively evaluate LeBron James Jr., Bronny James, as the 55th pick in the draft. And that sucks. That's where I just feel really, really bad for the kid because I don't think it's likely that he has a successful NBA career. And, you know, even if he were able to crack the rotation, I think people would still be underwhelmed by that, which is crazy because that would objectively be a success. But they can't view it like that when it's LeBron's son.
I'm rooting for him. Like, I want Bronny to win. I have a Bronny James Sierra Canyon jersey. Like,
yes, you do.
I've liked Bronny since high school. And if he does become a rotational player for 5 seasons, this is a success. That's what we should emphasize. Like, you talk about Patty Mills.
Yeah.
Patty Mills is like the most successful 55th pick in NBA history. It speaks volumes, man. It's like, no, we're not expecting him to be a star. And that's what sucks. The one thing I do want to add, you were talking about making this about LeBron. And I don't want to presume anything, but I really hope that it was Bronny's decision to come out of the draft and not LeBron's decision. Because I think that is how you ruin Bronny's career, right? We talk about how far away he is. There are just some guys who need those extra years of college experience. You know what I mean? And I think Bronny was one of those guys. Like, his offensive game was just so raw that I just think he needed that extra experience and that extra time, and he still does, right? It's not like he just magically, he got drafted and he gets, it's like thunderstruck. He touches an NBA player and gets their powers. Like, he's not just magically going to become a good NBA player. He needs reps, he needs time, and like you, man, I think he needs probably a year to 3 in the G League. And what sucks, man, is, again, and we've gotten in a roundabout way to this point, but Bronny's never just going to be able to go play basketball. He's never going to be able to have a bad game. So it sucks, man. Even he goes to the G League and he's just going to get clowned because he's in the G League and he's not cracking a rotation, right? Yeah. He can be a great G League player and eventually be on the way, and it's still, Bronny's in the G League, right? The bar is just so high for him. I think the bar should be, if Bronny ever gives you meaningful NBA minutes, that's a W. That is a huge W.
Yes.
His career is a success, and that's what I would take away from it. If he is ever a reliable rotation piece, that's a success story, man.
I concur, and there's just so many people, I think, who resent LeBron, and they can claim that it's about nepotism. They can claim that it's about, I don't like seeing people handed this opportunity. Sports are the ultimate meritocracy. And it's like, hey, I'm pro-meritocracy, but a lot of people were just arguing that Caitlin Clark should be on the Olympic team just because she's a draw, right? That's not meritocracy. That's just one example. I feel like there's a weird crossover between people who are arguing that for Caitlin Clark and people who hate Bronny James. That's the only reason that I even make that point. But it's like nepotism is so universal in our society. It is absolutely not a good thing. But do I really buy that this is like the moment when you're deciding to take your hard stance on nepotism as an issue when it's LeBron's son? No, I don't think that that's a coincidence whatsoever. So people are always going to root against him. That's just the reality of it. And then there are going to be people who, again, put undue expectations on him because they want him to be good so badly. And the odds just are not in his favor, given his stature as a basketball prospect.
What is it, man? Just jealousy? I mean, nepotism is just a reality of the world. Like,
people hate LeBron, dude. People hate LeBron.
You can't change the cards that you were dealt in this life, man. You can only play your best hand. You know what I mean? Like, Bronny didn't choose to be LeBron's kid. That's just what happened, man. And again, the reality is that kids are going to get those opportunities if their parents are in a position of power, too. That's a reality of basketball that people need to wake up to now. Bro, it's all AAU kids. It's all guys with the NBA genes. It's all players' kids, their dads played in the league, right? Like, that is the reality of basketball nowadays. All of the guys coming up that you were seeing that are American hoopers, the majority of their dads played. And that's a one thing, too. That's a component of it. Bronny also has freak athleticism, right? Bronny has the NBA genes. That's almost a prerequisite for making it to the league nowadays, man. And if you're getting upset about Bronny getting the opportunity, man, you better get upset about a lot of guys' kids who are coming up.
Well, I do think that there are two different conversations to be had, because nepotism would just be the handing out of an opportunity that has not been earned. Whereas what you're talking about, I do think is real, but that is just privilege, right? That is having access to resources, also obviously elite NBA genetics, but having the multimillionaire parents who can pay for can't pay for every opportunity, pay for all the training that you need, whatever. Those to me are two different things, because if you're Cam Boozer, right, it's like, yeah, you were born fortunate, but there's no question that you're going to deserve to be a top 5 pick in the draft, whatever he ends up being. Bronny, there are people who say, well, he didn't even deserve to be the 55th pick in the draft. I just don't think it's flagrant enough. And again, there are examples around the league. There's not a bunch of them. Basketball is mostly meritocracy. That's something beautiful about it. But Thanasis is still catching checks for the Milwaukee Bucks, and we can all just have a good laugh about that. But it's not the same with Bronny James. What do you think about the Jaylen Brown thing? All the discourse about him saying,
what, y'all going to be mad at Jaylen Brown for being honest? Y'all are going to be mad because he's telling the truth?
Yeah,
fuck you, Jaylen. Fuck you for... Man, what is wrong with y'all?
Yeah, for anybody who missed that, Jaylen Brown just mouthed on the sideline, I don't think Bronny's a pro, and the cameras picked it up. Or he didn't mouth it. He said it, but people read his lips because you can't hear the audio. I don't know, man. I guess I've never had that level of spotlight on me where it's like I would have to think about being conscious of every single word that I say in public, even when people can't hear it because there might be a camera on me. Like, people are acting as though like he shouldn't have said that in public. It's like that's still a private conversation, right? He's talking to the person right next to him.
He's talking
to expressing his honest opinion.
Yeah, he's talking to Angel Reese, and he's with somebody else at the game. It was him, Angel Reese, and somebody else. Yeah. I mean, damn. I guess you can't. I guess you can't tell the truth. The last thing, I know we already mentioned this, but also again, man, it's the 55th pick with the Lakers, bro. What are the Lakers gonna look back in a year or two? Oh my God, we missed out on a 2-point per game score. Yeah. No, like look at the opportunity cost, man. 90% of these guys don't make the league anyway. You got to understand the goalpost and where Bronny's coming from, man. And I just think. Look, man, I'd like it if Bronny was the GOAT, too. If Bronny was just LeBron 2.0, we just, boom, LeBron goes out, Bronny steps in, King 2.0. That would be awesome. I would love that, too. It's hard, man. LeBron's 101. I just think the expectations have to be tempered a little bit with Bronny, man. And some people, they just take it too far.
Agreed 100%, bro. The expectations should be low. They should be low. That's just the reality with Bronny's caliber as a prospect. That will not ever be the case, though. And unfortunately, that's why we're here talking about the 55th pick. I try not to have us talk about Bronny too much just because as a basketball prospect, I don't think he's worth talking about very much. But also, I know you guys want to hear about it. Every time I see somebody out, they ask me about Bronny. So here we are. We're talking about Bronny. Here are our honest thoughts. Don't give us the Jaylen Brown treatment. We said that shit into the mic. We weren't whispering like little cowards. All right, everybody. Appreciate you as always. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, the good news is there is plenty more Nerd Sesh content. You can find all those shows I mentioned earlier. Trivia. We have out with The Deep 3 recently. We have out with Hive Mind. We have out with Stay Hot, and we have more coming soon. We've also ranked our top 10 point guards, shooting guards, and small forwards. So check out all that on our YouTube channel, or you can just listen to the show on all audio platforms. You can find more of our trivia content across social media, TikTok at NerdSesh, Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at Nerd_Sesh, and you can see more original content across our social channels. You can also see clips from the show, so follow us in all those places. You can check out our merch at thevolume.com, and you can join our Discord. The link to that is at the link tree across our social media bios. Just join there, chat with the fellas, say what up to Matthew Spawnhour. It'll be the time of your life. So with that, as always, appreciate you guys. I've been Carson Brabber.
I've been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.